Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And I gotta say, episode 5 of season 3, tonight's episode of Lucha Underground was fucking awesome, especially the last, I'd say, 20 minutes, because the main event and the ending cinematic were spot on. But I loved everything this show did. We had the continuance of the Cage Texano Best of 5 series, Johnny Mundo's story of his frustration with Dario and his inability to get in the Lucha Underground Championship picture was addressed. We had great women's action, some curious angles, developed. I felt like this was a very productive episode, par for the course on that front for Lucha Underground. And I just had so much fun with this. But partner, what did you think of tonight's episode?
Yeah, man, this is an awesome episode. I would easily say that this is the best episode of season 3. And even if you want to lump seasons 2 and 3 together, I would argue this is probably in like the top 5, maybe 10 episodes of seasons 2 and 3 combined. This is just a really legit beginning to end trip. It was awesome. I loved this episode.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let's not waste any motion, partner. Let us get right into our Lucha Underground review. And we open up with Dario Cueto. First, we get our traditional recap, of course, highlighting all the things that are going to be touched on tonight. But then, formally, we begin with Dario, the big dial of doom. And, he pretty much just goes through the motions, like explains what it is, what the person, in hard quotes, wins. And that was probably my favorite part of Dario's promo here. And then he spins the wheel. And the wheel lands on Prince Puma. So we know that the main event of tonight's show, Matanza versus Puma, Lucha Underground Championship. I know, Ashton, you saw it on Lucha Underground's Instagram. Hell, even the El Rey Network, the title of tonight's episode was The Prince and the Monster. So it was pretty telegraphed. Didn't make it any less of a fun segment, though. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great hype for the main event. What did you think of the segment?
Yeah, well, I mean, there really isn't much to say. It's just a Dial of Doom segment. We've had 2 of them already, and it's I think the funniest part about it is how much of a kick Dario gets out of it.
Yeah, I would certainly agree there. Dario's personality when it's involved with anything, even things that are already good, he just raises the bar that much more with his presence.
I love that he's like, and the person who this lands on will win a fight with my brother. Like, hard quotes, win.
I love that he's that confident because, storytelling would seem to indicate that whatever Technico would step up and dethrone Matanza, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Cueto had a full-blown meltdown. Like, it's going to be very interesting because the bigger the chip you have on your shoulder, the harder it is to sustain. And Cueto's feeling pretty cocky right about now. But that notwithstanding, is there anything else you want to say about this?
I don't think so, man. I think we're good to go if you want to move on. I believe it or not, our next segment rather was our first match, Ivelisse versus Mariposa.
What did you think about this, man?
Or I guess I should say Ivelisse versus the Mariposa, because we can't forget that that's not her name so much as it's her title.
Right. So what did you think about this match?
It was solid. I think that Marty being on the outside and just getting all kinds of involved in this match doesn't say too much about whoever the ref was for the match, but it's an interesting angle, and it makes Ivelisse look that much more like a badass for having to basically fight 2 people at once.
See, I'm going to reiterate something I said in live reactions. I love that this match was a thing, and I love that the way the match was booked and structured was a thing, because we can never forget, and I think that's one of Lucha Underground's primary responsibilities of this season, because they just did something not necessarily unheard of, because we know WWE did it with the Rock Cena feud, but they announced way in advance that Ivelisse and Katrina was going to be a match for Ultima Lucha Tres. And I think in one way or another, we should always kind of connect Ivelisse's journey, whatever she's doing in the temple, back to that fact, because it means the world to her, 1, to get her first Ultima Lucha win, and 2, to do it at Katrina's expense, because the past 2 Ultima Luchas, Katrina has screwed Ivelisse over. So to see her that being Ivelisse, overcome these 2-on-1 odds, especially against people as out there and as eccentric and just straight up creepy as hell as Marty and Mariposa. I think that could be potentially a great mirror of what's to come in Ultima Lucha Trace. Will Ivelisse finally get that win? So I really loved how they handled this whole thing. I thought it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. After the match, though, because, I mean, there's all kinds of shenanigans, and eventually Ivelisse actually does manage to fight off both Marty and Mariposa long enough to hit a Yoshitonic on Mariposa for the victory. But after the match, Marty comes in and they double team her.
Yeah, they double team her. And what's so great about Lucha Underground when you establish characters that you know so intimately, it's that, like, your imagination has a great passion for possibility. So because we know Marty the Moth now 3 seasons in, we know it's not beyond the realm of comprehension of, oh, they cut to something else. Did they abduct her in that time and get her in, like, that cocoon webbing that we've seen, Sexy Star in and stuff like that? Is Ivelisse going to be okay? And that actually has an interesting development, which we'll get to later. I'm sure we'll have quite a bit to say about that cinematic that I'm alluding to. But yeah, I love how when you know characters so well, you really can't even be at ease when the segment is formally over because you're like, well, is there something happening that we're not seeing? So good stuff.
Yeah, and then the great thing, too, if you think about it, because we did get a sort of a backstage cinematic later on in the night that I think in any other context almost would have kind of made Ivelisse seem, I don't know, like, I don't want to say weak, but maybe a little more passive or so. I don't know, because just to kind of just say what happened without diving too hard into it until we get to it, her boyfriend was really like trying to stand up for her and be like, yo, I'll kick their asses, but he doesn't need to because she beat Mariposa despite Marty.
Right.
It would be cool for him to back her up in a fight just to make sure that it's one-on-one, but he doesn't need to be the only one fighting. She's perfectly capable.
Exactly, and I have a lot to say about that, so I think I'm going to stay mum about what you just said. I'll add on to the conversation, but I want to wait for us to get to the appropriate segment, because I have quite a bit I want to say.
That's cool, man. Let's move on. Up next, we had backstage in Dario, well, not really backstage, in Dario Cueto's office. He told someone to not worry about Puma's title shot tonight. We don't know who, but then Johnny Mundo comes in, and John, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, because we have this established agreement that I'll handle all Johnny Mundo segments. Again,
Mundo and Taya segments. I'll give you Taya segments too, because I know you love her.
Sweet. But yeah, I mean, again, guys, we're just furthering the story of Dario. This is getting ridiculous. I want my Lucha Underground Championship match. And Dario keeps saying, like, Johnny, it's not going to happen. And then we have I think it could be more interesting if they want to explore it more, but if they want to leave it here, that's fine too. We get kind of a conversation about, faith versus, I guess, other, modes of living in the world. Dario says, look, I'm a man of faith, and right now, like, just nothing in the cards for you. And Johnny Mundo lays down the law, says, look, I don't believe in that faith crap, more or less. And then he shows off his abs, which are glorious, by the way. More than Bobby Roode's theme could ever hope to be. Yeah, I said it.
You're damn right.
And he says, do you think I got these abs as a matter of faith? No, I got these through hard work, which is funny because, I mean, look, whatever your belief is, and I'm respectful of all beliefs, that does seem like a technical thing to say. Like, I'm not going to leave anything to anybody else or any other force. I'm going to do it myself. And that's what Johnny Mundo's saying here.
A lot of the things that bad guys say, if you break them down and really look at them on the surface, can come off as good things.
Certainly. And I think that was the case here. But then Johnny Mundo, he goes from, really being adamant, but when he sees that Cueto isn't budging, then he tries to go to the route of haggling. Like, okay, if you're not going to give me a shot at the Lucha Underground Championship, what about give to the gods? Sexy Star lost at Atomico's match last week. And again, continuity can do wonders. For any product. Learn it, Raw. I love that Cueto's like, yeah, you're right, but then he turns that around on its head. Sexy Star did lose, but Jack Evans pinned her. So next week, Jack Evans is going to face Sexy Star for the Gift of the Gods Championship. Now, I know last week on Lucha Underground TWitWoW, we were kind of speculating, is Jack Evans going to give up his title shot to Johnny Mundo? And that may very well happen. But
I don't think it's going to happen, dude.
And you know what? I was just getting ready to say, Ashton, this might surprise even you. As a Johnny Mundo mark, I kind of hope it doesn't happen either because I'm really liking the story they're telling here. there is a tension right now between Johnny Mundo and Cueto that I haven't seen since season 1 when he popped Cueto in the face, which he was grateful for because he looks amazing in sunglasses. You know, and there's definitely something is brewing there. I do think that Johnny Mundo will eventually find his way, potentially in the ring with Matanza. And look, I have no delusions. I think that may be a borderline squash match. But it's going to be very interesting, the circumstances in which that arrives, because that may very well take the form of a punishment. Like, oh, you want Matanza so bad? Here he is, but it's going to be in this match type. It's just Cueto keeps pushing these buttons, and it's only a matter of time before Johnny Mundo pushes back. So they've already hooked me for next week just with that thread alone. And then there's the rest of the show, which was fucking incredible. I mean, look, as the guy, because I always try and be objective when it comes to Mundo, you know that. I ground my fandom from my analysis, but you is kind of on the outside too. I mean, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be an end game to Johnny just been consistently like poked and prodded by Dario's authority, or what do you think the end game is here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if they dragged it out until Aztec Warfare and then something big happened there.
You know, and there were, I wish I could remember who had that theory. I think we even answered it in Q&A. We did answer it in Q&A. Who had that Q&A theory that Johnny Mundo would win Gift of the Gods?
Oh, then, crap. I don't remember. Was it Mark?
Was it Jacob Kess?
Was it Mark Schoeneman?
It might have been Mark Schoeneman, or it could have been Jacob.
It might have been. It was either. Oh, you know what? I can tell you because I keep this shit in a notepad document. Suck it.
Oh, of course he does. This guy's a beast.
I was gonna say, was that an insult? Are you trying to call me a nerd?
No, I love how on top of shit you are, man. Of course.
Let's see. Mundo. God, you get a lot of Mundo questions. Jeez Christ.
Hey, they know.
It was Mark Schoeneman, MZRC10 on YouTube.
Well, MZRC10. I mean, that could be the and if so, here's the thing too, and I gotta be honest. You know, it would be crazy, but I don't even know if the title reign would last long, because after that main event tonight, I'm like, I don't even know. There's shit going on in this temple, man, that I think any other smart person wouldn't want to fuck with. But something is going to happen with this antagonistic relationship, I think, and I'm very excited about what it is. And it's crazy because Johnny Mundo, this is probably the least we've seen him in ring, because he went from actually being a very active competitor in season 1 and 2. I think like they've really restrained him so far this season, but yet so far this is my favorite season of his, oddly enough, because I'm just so intrigued and so enthralled. Like, what is the end game? I feel like this is going to be like the ending of a Saw movie, where I feel like he finally found his salvation in the form of the championship, and then he gets screwed over, and it's a horrible, horrible fate. But I'm in all the way, man. I'm in all the way. This is great.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I just feel like this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't building to something.
Right.
You know, it's Lucha Underground. They know what they're doing. Mundo wouldn't be getting shut down so much if it wasn't leading to something.
And you know what, Ashton? And then this is the last I want to say about it, because there's so much great stuff on this episode tonight that I want to converse with you actively about. The beautiful thing about Lucha Underground, like, just my opinion, right? If it was WWE and we were talking about this, one could make an educated inference that, okay, it's probably going to lead to a title run. That's no guarantee here in Lucha Underground. Something could very easily be Matanza ripping apart Johnny Mundo for the hell of it, or Angelico coming back right when Johnny Mundo gets his title shot, which, let's keep in mind, Angelico has vengeance on his mind. And you know what?
That his leg is shattered.
Like his dreams. That could be, right? Like Johnny Mundo finally gets his Lucha Underground championship, goes through all the bureaucratic tape, everything, gets his title match. He may even be close to winning, and Angelico screws him over. That could be the something that's coming. Yeah, oh, I will hate him for fucking life if that happens. I'm thinking I just got it right. Or hell, with how crazy Lucha Underground is and how predictable they are, Johnny Mundo, and I'm not saying this for my benefit, just hear me out, could win the championship based on Shoneman's prediction. We'll even go with that. But then maybe ultimately it would be on Angelico's prize to win, and it'd be the ultimate redemption story. You don't know with this temple. It is so crazy. So something literally is. We just know it's something. We just don't know what it could conceivably be, because there's such a multitude of possibilities. I love this place.
A multitude, people. Do you hear him? A
multitude.
Hashtag multitude?
You're damn right. But anything else you want to say?
No. Up next, we had our No, we didn't have our second match of the evening. We had a promo, a vignette saying to follow the White Rabbit and that they'd soon be here.
What did you think of this? I know it was brief, but any remarks you can give about this vignette, I'd love to hear what you thought about this.
I feel like if Ring of Honor's freaking catchphrase or their motto is, oh, just be patient, you'll get it eventually, Lucha Underground's motto is, we're going to leave you wanting more. And that's the difference. Like with Ring of Honor, they don't leave me wanting more so much as they want me leaving everything, because they don't actually give me anything until 8 months down the line.
Exactly.
Lucha Underground, they give you just a little bit. They give you just enough to hook you, and then it's like, no, we're not going to give you the whole thing yet. It's like that guy, that old guy in that freaking insurance commercial with the fishing rod with the dollar on it. It's like, oh, you almost had it. Oh.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that's where Lucha Underground really is at its best. It knows just to give you enough to tantalize you, but not to give you the whole thing so as to, ruin your appetite, more or less. It does leave you still wanting to be immersed in this world. And when it's like follow the rabbit and with the hypnotic colors, like black and white.
It did say follow the White Rabbit, I believe.
Yeah, follow the White Rabbit. I got like some Jefferson Airplane vibes, with the hypnotizing thing in the background as well.
Jefferson Airplane? What?
Well, the Go Ask Alice song, feature
head.
Yeah, I got those vibes a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it was
just
some
a random little white bunny chilling out in the bush, though. Like the imagery is. It's almost like, what was the freaking the drug commercial that's got the title that's like something about a bear by a waterfall or something like that?
Oh, the Clara Drill, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah. Okay. What's the name of that though? What's the name of that?
It was the Adult Swim short. It was Clara Drill. It's at Allergy.
Yeah, I know, but what's the name of the short? It's got a name.
Unedited footage of a bear. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was like unedited footage of a rabbit. I'm tripping, man.
Yeah, man. And I got to ask you again, I know there's so little to glean from this vignette because it was so short. Are we thinking a Rudo tribe or a Technico tribe?
I don't even know. I don't. It seems like they're going to be kind of Joker-esque. Like they're going to come in, or maybe not even Joker so much as Riddler. Like they're going to come in and they're going to be like fun, but they're also going to be like assholes fun.
Yeah, it's going to have fun, but with a malicious streak.
Yeah,
that very well could be.
And if I just flip this card over here and then throw it, you'll see it sticks in your face and kills you.
And I'll tell you, I got to be honest, to me, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm assuming maybe some people in the chat, like the big intrigue for me about the Rabbit Tribe is Paul London, because if he's as good right now as Brian Kendrick is where he is, this tribe is going to own, because keep in mind, Paul London has the benefit of Lucha Underground's writing. And if he really brings his best...
really, not even just the writing, the whole creative process as a whole.
And that's an excellent point, the whole creative process. So if Paul London brings the ability to match, this is going to be some stellar shit.
Paul London plus creative freedom equals...
White Rabbits, apparently.
Apparently White Rabbit. What is his thing with animals? First a swarm of dolphins and then bees. I don't know, man.
Maybe he's just trying to get attuned with nature through his wrestling personas. And
damn dirty hippie.
Maybe like in an interview, he's like, well, I was always told that the best wrestling characters are just extensions of our personality, and yet my personality is one with the earth. And then somebody just slaps him because that's mega levels of douche. But that notwithstanding, this is very intriguing stuff, and I can't wait to see more. And again, like I told you in live reactions, dude, even if you're a bit put off by this vignette or whatever, on the whole, what should really be appreciated by everybody is that it's another tribe, period. And we know tribes, I think, are going to play a huge role this season. I mean, that was something you were saying. You even used terminology like Cold War as far as tribes go. So knowing now the Rabbit tribe's entering the fray, that's got to raise the stakes a little bit.
Definitely.
Anything else you want to say about it?
I don't think so. Let's Dragon Man in the chat. Paul London plus creative freedom equals the hybrid dolphins and the danger bees.
I love it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So up next, we had our second match of the evening, Texano versus Cage, 2 out of 5. And this was way better than their first match. This was actually a really good match. Obviously, it wasn't match of the night because the main event existed, but it was still a really solid match. Probably would have main evented just about any other wrestling show on the planet, but this is Lucha Underground, so it's semi.
And you know something, though? Even with all that said, I got to be honest, for me personally, this is the best match Texano's had in Lucha Underground.
For sure.
I thought, which tells me, which really isn't a surprise to me, mind you, Cage is just on top of his fucking game right now. Like, he is a guy, like, Cage. I'll tell
the fact that Cage does, like, the thing, like, he'll do, like, a freaking, I don't know, like a Samoan drop, and then he'll jump and flip over the guy and then go to the top rope and do a moonsault. It's just like these ridiculous examples of, like, hey guys, guess what? I'm super duper strong, but also I'm super duper athletic. Suck it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, getting out of my own box where Johnny Mundo rules everything, and it is glorious. I have to say that Cage is another one. I've been saying for a while that I think Mundo's been having a career year.
Yeah.
And Cage, even though we don't watch as much of him as, because, you know, I keep tabs on all things Mundo, but with Cage, it's mainly just PWG and Lucha. Even that still, I think he has been working out of his damn mind, and he has been doing amazing stuff this year. And I'll tell you, to get a match like this out of Texano, which I know maybe to a lot of AAA fans, maybe me shortchanging Texano, because, I mean, he has done a lot in the business already. You know, youngest and longest reigning AAA champion, but I've never found him interesting. And so, I mean, Cage, to be as versatile as he is, and both these guys putting in the work to have a match like this, great. And what I also loved, you had Cage win the first match in this with the discus lariat, and now he wins this match with the F5, so Weapon X hasn't even come into play. Cage has attempted it, but it hasn't been the deciding factor. That just shows you what a fucking beast Cage is, because it's like, yeah, people have finishers. I just have moves with excessive force. Like, it's fucking brilliant, man. I'm telling you, Cage really is it. I said it I feel like I said it in season 2, and I'll say it again in season 3. That guy, and again, me just being entirely objective, he has got to be one of the closest people to the Lucha Underground Championship on the roster. Like, he is a guy that I feel like is primed for that fucking run. And I'm just wondering if they're going to give it to him. Like, I'm being dead serious. Like, more than Mundo, more than Killshot, and I love all those guys, obviously. I feel like Cage is the closest. Cage is the guy that I look at, and I'm like, it's not a question of if. It is a question of when. Because, my God. Yeah.
I mean, we felt that since, like, literally his debut, episode 10 of season 1. It's felt like he's right there. Like,
and he
debuted, he dominated, and then later that night, I think it was, wasn't it, that he tore the title in half, or was it later?
Yeah. I think that was a bit later, but you know what? You bringing that up, which is an excellent point, by the way, just shows you how great Lucha Underground is, because I mean, and again, I'm being 100% serious right now. No Johnny Scumbag shit. You look at Cage. Why should I fucking sympathize with that guy when he looks the way that he does? And yet, because he didn't get the Brock Lesnar push where, oh, I come in and I take everything and then I leave with my middle finger high in the air, because he's actually had to struggle, because he's actually met challenges despite being a machine, I'll probably pop when he gets his moment, because it wasn't a gimme like we thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to come in that temple and be one of the longest reigning champions that Lucha Underground Championship has had. Hasn't even touched it yet. Like, I love that. I love that so much. So, yeah, this is a great match. Cage wins. I hope he has a sweep in the series. Let's get the show on the road. And we already shouted out.
That would be my favorite thing. Like, would it make Texano look worse? I mean, undoubtedly, if you lose to a guy 3 times in a row, yeah, you're going to look worse. But is it going to make him buried? Absolutely not, because look at who he lost to. Even if it was 3 times in a row, who else in the temple is going to beat Cage? Like, I could count on one hand the number of guys that I could believably, like, buy beating Cage clean. And Texano isn't necessarily on that list. I mean, he probably is just because he's kind of like close in size, but we talked about a couple weeks ago when we had the first match, like, everything Texano can do, Cage is better at. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's more athletic. The only thing Texano really has on his side is, like, fighting spirit. And that's, like, really grasping for straws, just trying to come up with something that can make him stand up to Cage.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, Cage beat the spirit out of him tonight. That F5 put him down. And like that's the thing. I should remember everything you just said. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's like having to progress through his finishers or anything. Like, how, sometimes like with the old like Christian Randy Orton feud, Christian would win with the kill switch, but then the next match Orton kicks out of the kill switch and Christian has to win with the spear. That's not the case. He just is changing. Like, he didn't even hit the discus lariat on Texano tonight. He might win with that move in their next match for all we know, if he can hit it. But he didn't even need to hit it tonight because he won with the F5.
He might win with the screwdriver next match. And
he might win with the screwdriver. He might win with Weapon X. He might win with a goddamn lion salt because he's 300 pounds and can do lion salts.
I'd see, that's why, like, everything you're saying, and I'm so glad you're saying everything you are right now, because that's why I am so adamant when I say I have to believe that the Lucha Underground Championship and Cage is an inevitability, because every move that guy does is believable. Virtually every move he does, if he puts enough power behind it, I could believe as a match ender. In hell, with the way, although we'll get to that a bit later, because I was going to say there seemed to be a trajectory with Matanza's booking. I think it took an interesting little turn, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. I mean, even Cage gave Matanza a run for his money. And he is just at a point right now, like you said something, like there aren't many guys on the roster that I could believe would beat Cage clean. And you're absolutely right. Like, that fact was made painfully clear to me in the Johnny Mundo feud, because how much stuff did they do to put Cage away, and it wasn't enough. This guy's booking has been that he is a monster, and he's a monster where it's only a matter of time. And I'm enjoying the ride. Good stuff,
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's Cage is the frickin' man. I know that there's all this drama with him and Melissa Santos, apparently. But, regardless of what's going on outside of the ring, when that dude steps into the ring, I don't know if there is a performer on the planet that can match what he does.
Yeah, I look, and hey, I'm going to be honest. I've compartmentalized before with performers that I've loved and mistakes that they've made. I sure as hell can do it for a guy like Cage. I mean, the guy's freaking amazing, and nothing's going to change that. And I think his career, like, he hasn't lost any momentum, and it's amazing to watch. He's really come into his own in 3 seasons worth of Lucha Underground. He's only going to go higher from here.
Yep, exactly. All right, so then after this match was over, we had a locker room scene. Ivelisse approached by her presumed new boyfriend, who I believe she referred to as Jeremiah, but we know him lovingly as Sami Callihan, Death Machine. Ivelisse tells him about how she got jumped. He made a really shitty remark like, "Oh, I'm sorry I'm late, babe. I just assumed my girl was going to be in the main event." Like, what a dick. But then she tells him about how she got jumped, and he's just like, "No, who jumped you? I'm going to kick their ass." And he's talking about how, like, he's this big tough guy. He's going to whip their ass. And she's just like, "Dude, chill. I just need a ride home. I want to drink." And then he gets a flask out and takes a shot. And he's just like, "Oh, why wait?" And he tries to give it to her. She denies him. And then the camera cuts away.
I gotta get your thoughts on this, brother. What do you think about all this?
Oh, this is hilarious. I like Sami Callihan, just his look. He's already kind of hard to like because he just looks so like sloppy, I guess is the word.
Right.
He's got his hair looks like he hasn't washed it in a month. He kind of has like that dirty look on his face. It looks kind of like, I think he has like a lip ring and it looks like it might be infected for all I know. Like he reminds me of like that guy in high school who doesn't know how to hygiene. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's hard to like him because of that. But when he's playing like a sleazy, scummy asshole boyfriend to a beloved character like Ivelisse, it's perfect. It's perfect.
I gotta say, what I always love about Lucha Underground reviews as opposed to live reactions, and I've said this before, it does give us time to marinate on the things that we've watched and put pieces together. And seeing in the trailer, Ivelisse at one point, I guess they're in a locker room setting or whatever, and she kicks Sami in the chest. We know this is going to implode. My question is, and I would commend Lucha Underground for this, I just don't know if they're gonna do it. we know that they are, I hate to use the word progressive because it kind of makes me feel a certain way, but they are very forward thinking, I'll say, with their women. I mean, Sexy Star is the gift of the gods champion. There are intergender matches. That is the norm. And they don't announce it and pat themselves on the back so hard that they leave marks like I think WWE does a lot of the time.
They did in the first few episodes of season 1, but since then they've really backed off and just kind of let people take it as it is. And I appreciate
Right.
that.
And I feel like that was really Stryker's commentary. And I never really know what Stryker, and thankfully he's toned it down. But my point is, I do have to wonder, because Lucha Underground has not shied away from darker themes. I mean, let's remember Sexy Star's mask. She was at the point of suicide and she was a victim of abuse. If this may become a potentially abusive relationship, and I don't say that to make the tone of this conversation uncomfortable. I say it because this could be a source of empowerment, because we do see again in the trailer, Ivelisse won't take that shit. So I'm wondering if this Jeremiah is going to be so scummy. Maybe he'll try and grab Ivelisse at some points, or really just try and like yell at her and be adamant. And then she stands up for herself. And
I was going to say, yeah, she's not going to put up with that shit. And we already know that these two, I mean, if they're not going to end up in a full-blown feud, we know for a fact that they at least have a fight, because we saw them fighting in the trailer.
Exactly. So I have to wonder with how...
And it wasn't like a sanctioned match either. It was a backstage fight. So it's not like, they're being forced against their will. Like, they legitimately have something bad go down between them that they don't like each other at one point.
And I got to say, the whole reason I even bring this up is because, yeah, there's a part of me that wants it. And the reason for that is Ivelisse 1 is a badass character. Male, female, doesn't change the fact she is freaking badass. I love her. I love how she carries herself. I love how she takes care of her business. And then when you get to Jeremiah, a.k.a. Sami Callihan, I've seen enough of the guy's promo work, and I'm sure you have too, to know that if his role really is scummy and potentially abusive boyfriend, like, he could pull that shit off. And it could be dark and it could be uncomfortable the same way relationships like that are. It is a very uncomfortable and sad reality, but to take it to television and see the woman stand up for herself, but stand up for herself forcefully, I think that could be great television, and I do kind of hope that's where it's going, because you don't get good vibes from him the moment you see him. You even just ran down, like, he looks unhygienic, he's this, he's that. He does seem he seems to me like that guy that's so bad, but then he tries to make up for it with that sweet talking, like you said, I thought my girl would be the main event, almost to make up for, I'm sorry I was shitty and I was late again, probably because I was drinking or doing something else. And then just try and sweet talk. Like, all the signs to me seem to be there. Now, they may not go that route, but if they do, I hope Ivelisse kicks his ass, and it's a great
My only
feud.
concern is that we know Ivelisse gets injured this season.
Yeah. God damn it with the injuries, because I know it frustrates her too. She wants to be healthy and she wants to be in there. My heart breaks for her. Like, all kidding and shit aside, that has got to be so frustrating. And I don't know how they'll handle this. I mean, maybe they'll work the injury into the story and maybe he hurt her really bad in one confrontation and then she comes back later to give him his. I don't know. I know, and this is one of the things I respect most about Lucha Underground. They don't shy away from the darker stuff, or they can make allusions to darker stuff. We've seen murder. We've seen Sexy Star talk about suicidal tendencies and being abused and then finding power within herself. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did go that route. And yeah, I feel so bad for Ivelisse. And by the way, Jeremiah, it's Son of Havoc, you douche. Said,
not Son of Chaos.
Son of Chaos. God, do you even watch the product, you mark? God.
No, I mean, clearly he doesn't. He would probably call you a nerd. Like, oh, no, of course I don't watch a product, you nerd. I have a life.
Yeah, at least I know that leather jackets are out of style, asshole. Anyway.
We both just went to say asshole. Like, yeah, that's just the type of character that is, though. And I love that we hate him already so much. And the fact that you even dislike a guy who's meant to be disliked is a freaking accomplishment.
God, Ivelisse can't know, though. I still have to keep up our Twitter beef. If she knows I actually care about her well-being and want to see her kick his ass, that might not bode well for the Scum Squad. But yeah, this is going to be a great story. I'm looking forward to it, dude.
Yeah, all right. So then we get to our main event of the evening, Prince Puma versus the monster, Matanza Cueto.
This is all you, brother, as the Prince Puma, Mark. What did you think about this?
Oh, this match was so good. best Puma is desperate Puma. The best Prince. Actually, I shouldn't even say that. Best Puma is badass, confident. Like I just effed your wife, Puma. That's the best Puma. But after that, the best Puma is desperate Puma. When he gets to actually portray emotion, whether it's just oozing that like, yeah, you're damn right, I just did what I did kind of confidence, or when it's this like desperation, like scratching and clawing and just trying to stay alive rather than really like, being on top and knowing that he's going to win. Those are my two favorite versions of Puma, and we got a little bit of both of those in this match because like we got like the desperation Puma when Matanza was, in control, but when Puma's in control, he oozes it. Like he's like, yes, you're damn right, I'm in control. I got this. I'm telling you, man. Not Ricochet. I'm not saying this about Ricochet because I love Ricochet, but that's a completely different character. I'm saying this about Prince Puma. Reminds me of The Rock.
Yeah. And here's the thing: Ricochet, the man, loves The Rock. I mean, The Rock was his favorite growing up. So he would probably take that as high praise. And can I say too, and then I want to get more of your thoughts, like favorite moments in the match and stuff, because I'm not ready to remark on the match itself just yet. You say that kind of Puma that you listed is best Puma. To me, the Matanza that we got is the best Matanza. Because I'll say this too. I think what made this match work was that it progressed from a mauling to a fighting chance, where I feel like the last two title defenses of Matanza, the protagonist, if you will, the technical, whether it be Son of Havoc or the Mac, it was more, okay, we've got a good edge, we're wearing him down, and then Matanza comes back. I'm not saying those types of matches can't work. I rather enjoyed the Son of Havoc match, but honestly, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more, and it would have been more emotionally resonant with me if it was booked something like this. Like, this match to me, I'll be honest, first of all...
I mean, you say booked, but the bookers don't tell the guys in the ring how to wrestle. The bookers just tell them who's winning, and then they let them do the rest.
Well, then I personally, I mean, I really shouldn't tell anybody how to do their craft, but I think I would have preferred if they said, okay, let's do our match something akin to what we got here tonight. Because
I think that the in-ring product is a combination of the in-ring performers and then the agents, which it's like Chavo, Vampiro, and Paul London.
Right. And, again, I just feel like something like this would have worked better, especially for the Son of Havoc character, who I think we're supposed to be feeling immense sympathy for right now, given everything he's been screwed out of. But this freaking works. So as I was getting ready to say, before we had that little discussion, this kind of match shows Puma at his absolute best, but it reminds us that Matanza is the obstacle. Anybody can be champion, I guess, if circumstances really align for them the right way. But to be a champion so legit that you even question if you want the title match or not, or you don't even know if you're going to walk out with it or not, I mean, Matanza's just, he's amazing. And this is Matanza at his best. But with that said, what were some of your favorite moments in this match?
Honestly, my favorite individual moment was when Puma caught Matanza out of the freaking air and then switched him in midair, hit him with a Northern Lights, and then deadlifted him into a freaking brainbuster. That, I was dying when that happened. That was amazing.
Yeah, you popped big time. For me, nothing against Puma. Had to be Matanza's shoulder block. I thought the visual was great.
Dude, that's not indictment on Puma. That's praise of Puma because he sold it like a freaking shooting star press.
He did. I mean, the sell was great. The visual was great. In an age where most of the best stuff, whether it be like a Young Buck super kick or what have you, gets jiff the shit out of, that's going to be jiff the shit out of, guaranteed. Like,
oh yeah, I hope so. I posted a comment in the Lucha Underground live thread asking somebody to jiff it, and got a reply saying that they should have it by 6 p.m. tomorrow. So here's to hoping.
Right, and I just it's crazy to me. I mean, the spots they did. Puma did a sick shooting star press off the apron early on in the match. I thought that was great. These guys went out there and they tore the house out. And again, what made this match work and what honestly made me prefer it to Son of Havoc Matanza, and I love Son of Havoc to death, is I feel like it had an emotional build. It starts out with Matanza ragdolling Puma. I even said in live reactions at one point, it seemed to me like a believer just put on a Puma mask, got in the ring, and just threw their hands up in the air and whatever happens, happens. Because he was getting mauled out there. But then the moment he explodes with that suplex that made you pop big, and I loved it, the tone changes. And it goes from, man, he's really getting his ass kicked, to, oh my God, he's defending himself, to, oh my God, he might win this. Which makes the Mil Muertes interference all the more heartbreaking. And you know how I know this match works? And this is just me. Because I could tell that you were so into it. Like, you even said on live reactions, like, ah. And normally you're a guy, because, you know, you're intelligent. You know when this shit's coming. And I'm sure in the back of your mind you knew this was coming. But it didn't make it hurt any less. I feel like your reactions were like what it is for me watching a Johnny Mundo world title match. And I love that. I love that you were that into
We've
it.
already established that Puma is kind of that guy for me in Lucha Underground. That kind of gets me to suspend my disbelief.
And that's beautiful. That's how you know this match works. And that, if there are people like you, which I'm sure there are, you know, thousands upon thousands of Puma fans, as there should be, because the guy's fucking amazing at his craft, they're more invested now in Mil Muertes versus Puma. Because Muertes screwed him over big time. That spear, and again, the sell by Puma, and then the flatliner, and again, the sell by Puma, made it look like death. He got spiked on his damn head.
I love that we have to give residual credit to Puma for selling everything like a beast.
Because it was ridiculous. And you know what, though? Not even ridiculous in the sense of like, oh, look at Dolph Ziggler trying out there. Because at that point,
I was going to say, yeah, like you say flatliner, I say assisted cartwheel where you land head first.
Exactly. You know, and it was brutal. And I think that's why it works, because Lucha Underground's predicated on brutality. It's predicated on carnage. And when you see a guy like Puma,
it's predicated on violence.
Exactly. You know, and you see a guy like Puma who's worked so hard and seems to finally be getting his shit together fall like that. And then I love this too, because anybody else would just go for the pin, not Matanza, because he's like, nope. Doing it my way. And not only does he do it his way, because then again, anybody else, even if they're like, sure, I'm going to go my own way, I'm going to do this, they would have just done the least steps possible. Matanza goes through the whole freaking thing. Throws
and not only does he throw him up against the ropes, which I feel like is what you were alluding to, but he even puts a little extra hot sauce on there, does the toss-up variation of Wrath of the Gods. Like, wow, dude. That's just excessive. It's superfluous.
But, you know, I think it's more, especially because it was Muertes with the assist, and we know the animosity those two have. I think it was Matanza more or less saying, no. That's not how this is going down. I'm not going to have you stain my title reign. This is how it's done. And then he does a beautiful Wrath of the Gods. And it was a great match. And it just makes Puma, who should be sympathetic, because this is a story of a man trying to find himself again.
I really do feel like 95% of athletic ability stems from the wrists and the hips. Like, the ability to rotate your hips on a dime, which Jeff Cobb clearly has because that Wrath of the Gods was incredible, is so important to athletes in just about any sport, really. Like, in football, it literally, the ability to rotate your hips and flip your hips as quickly as possible is the key element to a player being good in pass coverage, you know? You being able to flatten your hips out and bend around the corner is the key to being a good pass rusher. You know, wide receivers running routes, your hips are what you need to use to fake your opponent out, because they watch the hips to see where you're going to be going. Like, everything comes down to the hips. And then, like, for any kind of throwing motion, whether it's a quarterback or in basketball or a baseball pitcher, it's all wrist. It's all, like, based on wrist flick. Like, those two parts of the body, the wrists and the hips, are like the most underrated, if not the most important physical elements to being an elite athlete. And Jeff Cobb, Matanza, when he did the Wrath of the Gods here, I couldn't not mention the hip rotation when he, obviously you bring him down, but then when he swung back around, the hip rotation was freaking ridiculous.
Excellent point, partner. It's something I wouldn't have taken stock of, but I mean, yeah, Jeff Cobb is a freak. And
He is. We talk about Cage because I think he's like 6'1", 305, somewhere around there. I think his Wikipedia page lists him at like 245, which is hilarious because that would mean he's lighter than Cobb, but there's no freaking way. But yeah, Cage being able to do his flying stuff is impressive, but Cobb is shorter, and yeah, he weighs less, but he's just as stocky looking as Cage, if you ask me. And the fact that he can, and the stuff that Cage does is all vertical, you know. Like with Cage, he does like a moonsault, which is vertical. He does. I don't know if Cage even does a shooting star, does he?
No, I don't think Cage does.
No, he does a moonsault, he does a lion salt, he'll do like front flips in the ring to get to the ropes and that kind of stuff, but he doesn't really do anything that involves any kind of horizontal twists. And that's, I think, where like the most difficult kind of athleticism comes from, because Cage is more just pure explosive power, but the fact that Cobb is able to rotate his hips the way he does, doing the Wrath of the Gods, and while holding another human being, that is a different level of athlete, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And I got to say, too, while we're still talking about favorite moments, on a character level, I'm almost hoping one of these days that the wrestling world just converts entirely to Lucha Libre, because it's amazing what's brought out in people when they can wear a mask and be more expressive. Because
I think, the luchadors used to be more prominent in like the mid to late 90s, but for some reason, when WCW got sold, Vince McMahon has this weird thing where he doesn't think that someone wearing a mask can draw, because part of what Vince sees as being a major element to being able to draw is being good looking. So the women, you know, slide off their seats when you make your entrance. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
And
you know, Vince has this weird anti-mask thing. And even like Andrade Cien Almas, formerly La Sombra, was an amazing masked luchador. Now, granted, he was technically unmasked before he got to WWE, but maybe he knew that he was signing to NXT, and he knew that they were going to ask him to unmask, and that's why he was willing to give Atlantis that rub in the first place. So maybe if they hadn't like been so adamant about him unmasking, maybe he wouldn't have done it in CMLL before he showed up. I digress, though. Like, I really do feel like there are some people who would draw more with a mask, and those same people, because they have the mask, then you can sell masks. That's more merch.
yeah, because, I mean, first of all, I completely agree with everything you just said. And the original point I was going to make that was kind of springboard for all that is Jeff Cobb is able to be very expressive as Matanza. And one of my favorite moments in this match, Puma kicks Matanza in the head, or at least tries to. Matanza catches the leg, and he just looks at Puma, and the look in his eyes, like, it's Halloween month, okay? It's October. Everybody's doing the scary movies, Michael Myers and all that shit. And the look in Matanza's eyes, that's what Halloween is all about. Because somebody looked at me that way, the last thing I'm thinking is, thank God I have a will prepared, because I know I'm dying. Like, it's over. My life is done.
The last thing I'm thinking is, thank God I wore brown pants today. No one can tell I just shit myself.
Exactly. Because it was like chills down my spine, and then he capture suplex him. And it's like, holy fuck, dude. It kind of reminds me of this whole thing that Dr. Loomis once said about Michael Myers, I think in like the second Halloween movie. And he said, you could look into those eyes, and they're vacant, they're empty, there's nothing there. And, you know, hell won't take him. Like, that's how much of a monstrosity he is. And that's the vibe I got when Matanza just looked at Puma that way. Like, there is nothing in those eyes. It is a vessel, and nothing and nobody can take him. It's incredible. This is a great match. Great fucking
we've
match.
Got just a little quick change of subject. We've got Jay Slays in chat asking where King Cuerno is. Let's remember, he lost to Mil Muertes in a death match at Ultima Luchadores Part 2. He's dead.
Yeah.
That's where King Cuerno is.
Yeah, so I guess no King Cuerno for season 3, which is, to me, a big loss.
I'm sure he'll end up showing up eventually. I mean, I doubt, because I think that the AAA talent, which Cuerno would be a part of, are the ones that signed the 7-year contracts. You know, like, you know, him and Phoenix and Pentagon and all them. I think those are the people who signed the 7-year deals. It's something I've read. I could very easily be wrong. It's just something that I have read multiple times, though, which kind of is why it leads me to believe it's probably true. But I'm sure we're going to see him again. it'll probably be in season 3. It's a long season. I mean, we're through 5 episodes. That's only an eighth of the way done. That's
Right.
it's nothing. I'm sure we'll see him again, but it's going to require some kind of storyline magic to bring him back.
And hey, if anybody can pull that off with its mythology,
Oh
it
yeah,
is
I
Lucha
mean that's why
Underground.
I'm not writing it off, because it's that's par for the course for Lucha Underground, and I love it.
Definitely. Anything else you want to say about this main event?
I don't. Well, I mean, Mills showing up and basically fucking Puma over pissed me off beyond all belief. And that's the thing. Like going into the night, I knew it was going to happen. I knew, like I told you, oh hey John, by the way, we've got Matanza versus Puma tonight. I don't know if that's going to be a Dial of Doom thing. Probably is. But Mills going to screw Puma out of the title. And then you're like, yeah, man, that's probably gonna happen. And by the time Puma was up on the top rope getting ready to hit the 630, I had forgotten all about Mill. And then he hits it, and then he gets speared. I was like, God damn it! How did I let myself forget? Ah!
Yep, I'm telling you, man, you're just like me with Johnny Mundo, because I know when Johnny Mundo's going to lose a world title match, which is really 10 times out of 10 at this point, but I still get sucked in. I still think, could he do it? Is it possible? And that's what the best do. And Puma, on top of his game, so many people on that roster right now, I think, are really having the performances of their careers. And it's just amazing to watch
Lucha
here.
Underground. That's the Lucha Underground effect, brother.
Yeah, damn right. So, with that said, anything else you want to say about the main event?
Was anything exchanged between Mill, Katrina, Dario, and Matanza while Puma was laid out, or was it just a bunch of angry stares?
I think it was just a bunch of angry stares. I know Katrina held up the stone. I'm assuming Dario held up his key, so it's still the key versus the stone, I guess. A war that'll never end. But I think that was it.
Guerra! I love that. The freaking two monsters go through a ceiling, and Dario just decides to declare war on Katrina.
Right. Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. So up next, after Puma loses the Lucha Underground Championship match, thanks to Mill, he has an out. He didn't lose because he's not the better man. He lost because of Mill. Or really, we just didn't have to see someone else kick out of the 450 because of Mill, or the 630 because of Mill.
Right.
Killshot was lifting weights, and it wasn't curls for once. It was bench press. I know there are a lot of people that criticize Lucha Underground for seemingly everybody in the temple only knowing how to do curls backstage, but he was bench pressing. So
I'm like, where the hell did this come from? What? But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he was doing the bench press, and then Joey Ryan comes up, and he's just like, "Hey man, some guy outside gave this to me and told me that I should give it to you." And he was just like, "Oh, do you know who it was?" And Joey's just like, "What am I, a detective?" And then he walks away, and Killshot opens it, and it's like this like burned, tattered piece of like parchment paper that says, and it looks almost like it's written in blood even, "You left me for dead." So this, we are hoping, and kind of probably safe to assume, is going to end up being AR Fox's character, whoever that may be. And I'm really freaking excited for it. Because if this means, well, are we seriously going to get Killshot versus AR Fox matches? Because that might just be too much for my brain to handle.
I think it's going to be. I've seen a little bit of AR Fox's work. He was another guy that passed through Force One when it was active in Jersey. I only ever remember him working babyface, though. That's the funny thing.
I know, but like he can do an imploding springboard 450.
Jesus Christ.
He's ridiculous.
Holy shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like if people are on the outside, he will go to the outside, stand on the apron, jump up, and off of the ropes, rather than flipping backwards, he'll flip in a forward flip, but he'll go backwards towards the people. And he's nuts.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you. And Killshot, we know the crazy and amazing stuff he can do. You put him and AR Fox in a ring together with an emotionally riveting story. Yeah. Those guys, I'll tell you, I'll call it right now. That's how confident I am. These guys may be able to unseat No Mas as Lucha Underground Match of the Year, because...
You know who else might be able to unseat No Mas?
Who's that?
Puma and Mil Muertes, if they have another match before the end of the year this year.
And I have to think they will, dude. The trajectory of how things are going.
I know, but I'm just so excited for it. And they are definitely dragging it out. But if it happens this year, I'm sorry, no mas, but you've been I have a really hard time believing that it's going to do anything but one up no mas, especially if they kind of delve into the Mil Muertes bag of tricks and we get like a Gravist consequences and then another death match. Like, I'm done.
Right. But yeah, I mean, AR Fox coming to the temple, and again, referring back to the trailer, we know there is a scene where he seems to be tied up, a bloodied mouth, and probably surrounded by people that caused that bloody mouth to begin with.
Yep.
Probably a flashback to wartime, and maybe Killshot.
When Killshot abandoned him, who's the real babyface man?
Well, see, that's the thing. Is Killshot the bad guy here? And that's what's so fascinating about a good war story. Is that because war is hell and it's one of the worst human activities imaginable, you don't really know who the bad guy is or who the good guy is in some cases. Sometimes it's pretty clear cut. But in a case like this, I'm thinking it'll be heavily ambiguous. Was Killshot a good guy? And if we're going to condemn him, could we have done differently than he did? Like, I'm excited for this story because of the personal places that I think it could go. The same way with the Jeremiah Ivelisse story. And I'm glad I can have this kind of excitement because of, you know, who it's with, Lucha Underground, and they can do that kind of.
Yeah, boy.
You know?
Oh, my brother, testify.
And here's another thing, too, I've got to mention. Like, I like the Killshot character because we've seen in his, like, promos, and we saw in, like, his introductory vignettes, if you remember, like, that line that stuck with me. I fight to forget, and I fight because I can't. And I feel like that was a very somber, very honest reflection of a man in war. Is AR Fox going to continue that trend? And if he is, that's cause for excitement because he's in a worse shape to me than Killshot. So are we going to see, because I hear a lot of time, like, I'll give you an example, right, of what I'm trying to articulate. A big complaint of the most recent season of Orange is the New Black, which I like, but Wentworth is better, is that the guards at the prison, because they were all former veterans and they seemed like they encountered something in war, they're really like fucked up people. You know, like you got one guard fed this one inmate like, oh, you could either eat all these dead flies or you could eat this baby mouse. And like a lot of people were angry because it's like not everybody that comes home from war is sick, vindictive, or this and that. I'm wondering how Lucha Underground's going to handle this character because clearly
I think AR Fox is going to be that stereotypical depiction where he is sick and messed up, but then Killshot is going to be what we know him as, where, I mean, yeah, he's got his demons, but he's still a likable guy. He's still, you know, honorable, and he's still somebody that you can cheer for, and he's going to have to overcome the psychopath.
See, and here's the thing. I agree with everything you just said. I just hope they can walk that line where if AR Fox is going to feed in that stereotype, they can make it so emotionally resonant. Because the way I see the story, right, is I think Killshot's going to feel the burden of responsibility. Like, I've got to save AR Fox from himself. And AR Fox is going to be like, well, no, fuck you. I don't want that. I want to hurt you instead because you're the reason why I'm like this in the first place. They could tell because I actually, my friend Ricardo, he was talking about wrestling the other day, and he said like a lot of people a lot of times say, well, isn't that fake? And he went into that whole debate. And I commented that wrestling is theater, but with legitimate risks. And this could be some pretty fucking great theater because when you talk about something as personal as war and a man being left behind, and with Lucha Underground's writing, like it's a gimme, dude. It's a gimme. This still has time potentially. I doubt it, but depending on how far they go with the time we have left, this could be feud of the year. Because right now, you know, I think I already have my feud of the year kind of locked up, but this could unseat whatever I got going on, and yeah, easily take that place. This could be some good shit.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we've got like a solid like 12 or so episodes left in the year.
Right.
I mean, that takes us to like episode 16, 17, 18, somewhere in that range. So,
right.
Yeah, we've definitely, I mean, we'll almost be at mid-season by then. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we already had an entire Killshot AR Fox feud in the books by then.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. This is going to be so good. Anything else you want to say about it, man?
I don't think so, man. Let's talk about high spots, low shots, or as I used to say, high spots and low shots.
Hell yeah! Well, since you did it, I won't do it. You know, avoiding repetitiveness for the win. So my low shot is Prince Puma. because I know, but it's not a malicious thing, at least not entirely.
Well, thanks for feeding me fuel so that I could have a malicious low shot, bitch.
Wow, watch the tone, motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Prince Puma had an opportunity at the world title, and he got screwed by Mil Muertes. So not only can he not call himself a two-time Lucha Underground champion, he still got Mil Muertes, a problem he willingly invited into his house to deal with. So it was a rough night for Puma, but I know he'll bounce back. That notwithstanding, he's my low shot. Who's your low shot?
Okay. Because of that last line, because you atoned for your sins.
Oh, of course.
And you mentioned, yeah, that he will bounce back because he's Prince Puma and he's amazing. I'm not going to make Johnny Mundo my low shot, even though I could justify it. I could totally justify it because he got denied again. My low shot is Texano because you are 0-2 against Cage, which probably means you're going to have to enter Aztec Warfare first.
Yeah, suck on that. And by the way, again, thanks to Jacob Cass for that insight, because that probably really is what's going to happen.
What? What are you talking about?
The whole Aztec Warfare prize. Like,
yeah. I think we all kind of had some speculations on that. Jacob was just the person in chat to say it.
Yeah, but I mean, I still appreciate it because, to be honest, I didn't make that connection. So him saying it,
really?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I should have said something earlier then. But yeah, sure. Good job, Jacob.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, high spot. This is a bit difficult because people that I could say, well, they had a good night. It wasn't like a perfectly good night, I think, for most people. So let me think.
Yeah.
Cage. You know what? No, you know what? Well, you could take Cage now that you said it, because I don't want to take something that you gave me.
Well, no, I was even going to say, like, if you want to, we could even like share Cage.
That we might have to do that because it's a rough one this week. You know what? I hate to do it, but let's just share Cage because I really can't think of anybody.
I agree with you though, because like Mil won up to Puma, but it was only after Puma had already spent like 15 minutes in a match with Matanza. Matanza beat Puma, but it was only because of Mil's help. Puma took Matanza to the limit, but he lost. Cage makes the most sense. I mean, Ivelisse won, but she then got beat down, and she has an asshole boyfriend.
Right.
I don't really know if there is a logical high spot tonight. I think Cage really is the only person worthy of a high spot, so let's just give it to him together.
Yeah, evidently. All right. For the first time, and I feel like a long-time partner on any of our programs, we have a shared high spot. Yep. So, hey, Cage, I mean, I guess you really are a machine because all the men couldn't handle it. Or women.
He's a machine!
With that said, do you have any concluding remarks about this week's episode?
It was wonderful.
Like your face. So, on that note, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-worker and commentary Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes you give it, the more likely we are to be the top Lucha Underground review when you search for Lucha Underground reviews on YouTube. Fuck their algorithm. Fuck math up the ass. Give us a like and give us the spot we deserve, and that's the top spot. So, guys, you already know all the stuff to check out because of my co-worker and commentary's wonderful backgrounds. What you may not know is to submit questions for Q&A. Now, last Q&A was insane. I believe 54 questions. Just nuts that we got that many questions. 59. Holy mother of fuck, people. 59 questions. But I want to be adamant about it now. And every time I do these outros, last Friday of every month, I think it should be the 28th this month. We are doing Q&A. Yes, the 28th. We are doing it. So you've got 23 days to submit questions, through Twitter, YouTube, the TWitWoW Facebook page. Like and send us a message there. We'll categorize them. I'll get them to Ashton. If you send questions to me, questions can be just to me. They can be just to Ashton, or they can be to both of us. Be sure to specify. That always kind of helps me out when I articulate those questions to Ashton. And everybody gets 5 questions per Q&A. So it could be on whatever topic, wrestling, non-wrestling, whatever. So just let your imagination run wild. Send us your questions, and on the 28th, we'll get to them. And with that said, we will see you again for our NXT T review, where the first tag team matchup of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, Andrade Cien Almas and Cedric Alexander take on the Revival. These top guys are out, and you can tune in and peace out.